Kashi, played by Cheech Manohar, wears many rings in Dead Boy Detective Season 1, adding to his intrigue. He is introduced in the 6th episode, titled The Case of the Creeping Forest, the only episode where he makes an appearance. The night nurse, Ruth Connell, meets Kashi after being knocked off of a cliff by an angry Charles following her attempt to capture the Dead Boy detectives. Landing in the mouth of a massive sea monster, an anglerfish named Angie, the night nurse ends up trapped in the fish's stomach where Kashi has been living for some time. Also known as Kashina, the very old man is arguably the most content being on Dead Boy Detectives, rivaling Nico's optimistic disposition. Kashi is unbothered by being stuck inside Angie, considering it another adventure. He is even thankful to the giant fish for keeping them safe at the bottom of the ocean. During the episode, it becomes apparent that Kashi is a powerful being who has likely been reincarnated several times, as hinted at by his colorful rings. Kashi's mysterious backstory takes a back seat as he offers much-needed wisdom to the night nurse. Kashi's power and magical rings in Dead Boy Detectives explained. Kashi is an immortal man without trauma. Ruth Connell as night nurse and Cheech Manohar as Kashi holding hands and looking at his rings on Dead Boy Detectives. When the night nurse attempts to draw out Kashi's past traumas, her powers fail to work on him. He claims that it's because he's never had trauma in his life, seemingly accepting every piece of fate that befalls him. However, considering Kashi's apparent immortality, there is a good possibility his powers are simply stronger than the night nurse's. Kashi is young in appearance and does not explain in detail exactly how old he is. The rings on his fingers do give audiences a hint, though. At one point, when Kashi is holding the night nurse's hands to calm her, she notices the colorful rings and asks where they came from. Kashi cryptically replies that he has lived many lives and had many adventures. If each ring is equivalent to a life lived, this would mean Kashi has been through 13 lives at the very least. Does Kashi appear in the Dead Boy Detectives comics? And could he have a connection to Sandman? Kashi does not appear in the Dead Boy Detectives comics. He also doesn't seem to connect to Neil Gaiman's wider Sandman universe, though his surprisingly immense powers suggest it's a possibility. Instead, his role in the story, at least in Season 1, is to serve as a guide to the night nurse. He shows her kindness and even gives her one of his rings to remember their adventure. This pays off later, as a technicality in Edwin's paperwork and Kashi's ring suddenly glowing convinces night nurse to let the boys stay together. Kashi might remain a one-off character, but his powers and effect on the night nurse suggest he could make a welcome return if there is a renewal for Dead Boy Detective Season 2. As a new member of the Dead Boy Detectives agency, the night nurse may require an old ally as she adjusts to life on Earth. Kashi's ring might also be enough to remind her of his important lessons on life and kindness. Reminiscent of the Hindu deity Vishnu, Kashi seemingly desires cosmic harmony while defying hubris. The night nurse could be the perfect student for Kashi's teachings.